This is a presentation for Advanced Software Process, homework number 1, Number Stack app. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Natalia Anderson, and I have a working experience in primary in SQL and Exchange Server. I also work with programming languages such as C# and C++ on daily basis. I am also familiar with Java programming language, and I have experience with the Android mobile application development. In this class, I was responsible for project management and overseeing a software process.
I'm Jonah Tang, and I'm in charge of the quality assurance of this project. My prior experience includes roles in systems administration and development in PeopleSoft for the last 8 years, and I've also taken the requirements and also the validation and verification classes at Cal State Fullerton.
Hello everyone, I'm Bowen, and I'm a graduate student in California State University, Fullerton. Although I don't have any experience in the industrial, but I have already done a little bit different Android platform application developments. So based on my skills and experience before, I was appointed to the role of the software architect. And I will be responsible for analyzing the software requirements and creating the overall architecture for the application and designing the necessary data structures, algorithms, and user interfaces. Also, I will participate in most stages of coding part of this project.
The goal for this project is to learn and practice software development processes by building a stack application for Android. We created this app itself and also enhanced and used our Scrum and Extreme Programming and Agile methods during this app process. The major goal is to create the application and apply those practices to deliver successful product.
Now that we've discussed the goals and visions of this project, we move on to the requirements. In Agile, the requirements are specified using user stories, and these user stories were developed based on the requirements set out in the homework outline. As you can see, here are the stories. There are 7 of them, and they all begin with, as a user, I want this or that, and they basically reflect directly what a real user would want. Now that we have decided what the requirements are, we have to estimate how long it takes to accomplish these goals. So that's done through a process called Scrum Poker, which uses cards with numerical values and cards that have user stories on them that get played as follows. The Scrum Master plays a user story card, and all members will play a number card, and if all members agree on what the value of a user story is, then that becomes the point value of the user story, and if they don't agree, then they will have to discuss and come to a consensus on what the proper point value for the user story should be. Having established the user stories and the points associated with each user story, we then move on to giving priorities to the stories. Priority generally reflect the dependencies between user stories. For example, without graphical user interface, there is no way to write event handlers for objects that would be on the user interface. So here is the complete user backlog that we made up after deciding on what the priority and points are for each user story. Once that's established, we then realize that there are basically 2 stages at which we can release. One is releasing the user interface with the quit button event handler working. It would allow users to basically open the app and close the app. And then another release for whenever all the other functionality is added for push and pop.
In regards to our architectural spike, since this is a very simple program with few functional requirements, We just follows the basic development principle for one-page Android application. Also, we took advantage of the new IDE for developing Android application, which is Android Studio, since it provides the template for such a simple application. Also, since we did not to use any database, any hardware or external API for our program, the interaction between different components of the program will be completely handled by handlers of Android SK as different activities. Since this is kind of a very simple project and every function in this project is pretty simple and straightforward, we decided to make this project only have 4 iterations. And in each iterations, we firstly start from a Scrum meeting that will decide what should we do for this iteration. And in the second part, which is sprint, we will just simply do whatever we decided to do. Also, we made a sprint backlog to record what we did for each sprint. So it will help us to decide it better for next sprint and in the next Scrum meeting. So use case cards help us to check what we should do for each sprint. And in the first iteration's Scrum meeting, we decided only to implement the UI display and the quit function. So on the use case 1 card, the UI display have a simply user story to describe what it should do after we implement them, and there is preconditions and post conditions and normal courses that is better for our testers to test this use case if that is successful implement or not. So on UI display, it's simply just open the installed application, and the application will just generate the UI and let users see that. And besides, on the use case 2, the quit feature is just when user click that button, the quit button, the application will just quit. In the following iterations 2, 3, and 4, we just simply implemented our use cases into our system according to our product backlog. The backlog was made at the very beginning, so the estimate points are what we planned at the time. In the real development stages, the actual estimate time will be decided on the Scrum meeting if it is necessary for us to make a change. For example, even we planned to finish UC3 and UC4 at the same time, but we could not finish UC4 in iteration 2. So we decided to use the whole iteration to implement UC4, and it took shorter time than we planned during Scrum. This experience helped us to decide to implement of UC5 during iteration 4, and finally we could finish the development on time. Here is the test cases we made for iteration 4. Since this is a test-driven project, each test stages of each sprint will append what we tested for the last iteration. You could see on test ID 1, 2, and 3 is actually what we did after the developing in the iteration 1, and we kept testing them in every following iterations. To ensure the test results, we remade the testing by turns. Test cases 5 and 6 were failed at iteration 2, and finally after we improved our program, it passed the test at iteration 3, and so on.
Overall, I must say I had a great experience working on this app. I have now new knowledges on Scrum and XP processes, and I will definitely apply them in my future project at work.
This is Jonah Tang, and I've learned a lot in this project. The most important thing is that agile techniques can be applied in all software development processes, not just agile ones. And one of the most interesting things that I learned was that points can be assigned to any kind of requirement, not just user stories like in this project. And I look forward to applying all these new techniques that I've learned in real life as well as in other classes.
Since this is the third software engineering class I have had, I really enjoy this because it brings me new challenges. In the past classes, I've usually have 5 or 6 teammates here, but actually in this project, we only have 3 people in the group, and it helped me to get a better understanding about the software process. And here is the demonstration shows some ideas about how we did our testings on our phones and Android emulators. Thank you for your watching.